When my neighbor banged on my door at 5 in the morning, I thought someone was trying to break in. The sound was that frantic, like he was hitting the door with the side of his fist instead of knocking. I stumbled out of bed, half awake, and when I yanked the door open, there he was, my normally calm, boring, keep-to-himself neighbor, Victor, breathing like he had just sprinted a mile, eyes wide, hair messed up, wearing pajamas and no shoes even though it was freezing outside. And the first thing he said was, "Don't go to work today. Just trust me." I remember staring at him, confused, annoyed, and honestly pretty freaked out. Who shows up at 5 a.m. to tell you not to go to work? I asked him why, and he looked terrified, like truly terrified, and said, "If you go, something bad is going to happen. Something really bad. And now I need to know if I was wrong for what I did next. Because the decision I made that morning changed the next 48 hours of my life in a way I still can't fully explain. Would you have trusted him? I know I need to take you all back to the beginning, because none of this will make sense unless you understand what kind of guy Victor is, or I guess what kind of guy he used to be before all this happened. He wasn't the type to come knocking on anyone's door ever. He moved into the duplex next to mine about a year ago. Quiet, polite, spent most of his evenings tinkering in the garage or sitting on the porch with a book. We'd done the normal neighbor small talk. How's it going? And nice weather today. But nothing deeper. He worked in IT, some cybersecurity job that he never went into detail about. And honestly, I didn't care enough to ask. Life was normal, predictable, boring in its own way. And then for the past few weeks, I started noticing weird things. His lights on at random hours. Heavy boxes delivered at night. Strangers stopping by for 5-minute visits and leaving without saying a word. I didn't think much of it at the time. I just assumed he had a side gig or was building something nerdy. Meanwhile, my own life wasn't exactly stable. Work had been hell. My boss had been threatening layoffs while also demanding overtime. Our department was behind on some huge project, and he'd been riding us like crazy. On top of that, there was this big meeting planned for the exact day. Victor came knocking, the one where my boss was supposed to announce which team members would get cut. I'd been preparing a presentation I hoped would save my job. Maybe that's why I reacted the way I did that morning. Everything felt like it was hanging by a thread. So there I was, half asleep, freezing on my doorstep in my t-shirt and shorts, staring at a man who looked like he had seen something horrifying. I asked him again, "What are you talking about? Why can't I go to work?" And he kept glancing around, like someone was watching him. Then he stepped closer and whispered, "Because they're watching your building. I can't explain yet, but please, for today, don't go." That didn't help. I mean, who is they? Why would anyone watch my office building? It sounded insane. I told him I had a mandatory meeting, and he shook his head violently. "You don't understand," he said. "Just trust me. Call in sick, stay home. Don't open your blinds. Don't answer the door for anyone except me." He was shaking. I had never seen a grown man shake like that unless something awful had happened. I'll be honest, my first thought was that maybe he was having a mental breakdown. My second thought was that maybe he was drunk or on something. And my third thought, the one that scared me the most, was that maybe he knew something I didn't. Something dangerous. But I brushed it off. I told him he needed to calm down and that I'd check on him after work. He tried to grab my arm, begging me. Actually begging. I pulled away, closed the door, and assumed he'd lost it. But even as I got dressed for work, I couldn't shake the way he looked at me. On my drive to the office, his words echoed in my head. "They're watching your building." It felt ridiculous, like something out of a movie. But here's where things get weird. About 10 minutes from the office, traffic suddenly stopped. Police cars sped past me and the sky filled with helicopters. I turned on the radio and there it was, a breaking news alert. My office building had been evacuated because of a suspicious package, a bomb threat, and the timestamp said it was reported less than 15 minutes after I left my house. My stomach dropped so hard I felt sick. I pulled into a gas station and sat there in my car, shaking, listening to the radio like I was trying to catch a lie. But it was real. My building was surrounded by law enforcement. I didn't know what to do. Should I call Victor? Should I call my boss? Should I go home? My hands were sweating. My chest hurt. All I could think was, how did he know? How could he have possibly known? I drove home fast, too fast, but I needed answers. When I got back, Victor was sitting on my porch, head in his hands. When he saw me, relief washed over him. He stood quickly, walked up to me and said, "Thank God, they didn't get you," I demanded. He'd tell me what the hell was going on. That's when he invited me inside. His living room looked like a command center. 3 monitors, multiple laptops, wires everywhere, screens filled with lines of code and what looked like surveillance footage. He explained that he had been working on a freelance cybersecurity contract, a job he took under the table, and during that job, he stumbled across communications linked to a group planning an attack on several corporate buildings. And one of the buildings listed matched my workplace. He dug deeper, found timestamps, chatter IP traces in the night before. He confirmed that the threat was real and imminent. He said he tried calling the police anonymously, but because he refused to identify himself, they didn't take him seriously. He didn't want to reveal his identity because part of the data he obtained came from breaching systems that weren't exactly legal to access. So he did the only thing he felt he could do, warn me. I didn't know whether to believe him. It sounded insane, but the bomb threat was real. The evacuation was real. And the fear in his eyes? That was real too. He admitted he hadn't slept in over a day because he'd been monitoring the activity online. He said there were still active signals being sent around the area, and until things calmed, he wanted me to stay inside where he could keep an eye out. I didn't know what the right choice was. Part of me wanted to call the police, tell them everything, hand Victor over. Another part of me wondered if that would put both of us in danger. This is where I want to pause and ask all of you watching. What would you have done if you were in my shoes? A neighbor you barely know tells you he found evidence of an attack. He might have broken the law to find it. And now he wants you to stay inside because you might be in danger. Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to comment below and tell me if you'd trust him or turn him in. Because to this day, I still don't know if the choice I made was smart or stupid. I stayed. Not sure if it was fear, instinct, or the adrenaline of the whole situation. But something in me believed him. We spent the next hour in his living room while he showed me what he'd uncovered. I didn't understand half of it, but it definitely looked serious. Streams of coded messages, maps of the area, logs of suspicious accounts communicating back and forth. Around noon, news outlets confirmed the device found at my workplace was real. Not a test, not a drill, a real explosive. If it had detonated, dozens of people, including me, would have died. That's when I realized he had saved my life. Later that afternoon, federal agents began going door to door to gather information from nearby businesses and residents. Victor panicked, telling me to stay quiet. He was terrified that if they saw his computer setup, they'd arrest him before he could explain. But things escalated fast. One of the agents knocked on his door. Victor whispered to me, "Don't say anything." He tried to act normal, but the agent noticed his stress. Within minutes, they asked to enter the home, and when Victor refused, they brought in a warrant. Apparently, they had tracked some of the anonymous warnings he'd sent. Everything exploded from there, figuratively. Thank God. They confiscated his computers, detained him, and they questioned me too. I told them the truth, that Victor warned me, that he saved me, that he wasn't dangerous, just scared. They didn't tell me much, but they hinted that the information he provided actually helped them catch 2 members of the group behind the attack. He wasn't arrested long, just 24 hours. They released him, though not without restrictions. When he came home, he looked exhausted but relieved. He thanked me for not turning against him. I thanked him for saving my life. And for the first time since I'd known him, he smiled like a real human being instead of the quiet shadow who lived next door. The aftermath wasn't perfect. My workplace stayed closed for over a week. My boss lost his mind during the downtime. But ironically, that layoff meeting, it never happened. The company decided to postpone all cuts indefinitely. In some weird, twisted way, Victor saved my job too. I still think about that morning a lot. How close I came to ignoring him completely. How close I came to dying. And how sometimes the people we barely know might be the ones who end up saving us when we least expect it. Anyway, that's my story. If you think I made the right choice by trusting him, hit the like button. If you want more stories like this, make sure you subscribe. And drop your thoughts in the comments. Was Victor a hero or was he reckless? I'll see you all in the next story.